Wait, am I on now? Am I on now? Hey, I'm live. 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 Jesus. Jesus. Okay. 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 All right, so there's still thumping. All right, so there's still thumping. All right, so there's still thumping.
Oh God.
All right, so there's still
Shush.
thumping.
Shush.
Shush. Relax. I'll be right back. Gotta take my dogs out. All right, I am back. Oh, okay. I'm a software engineer. I've been coding professionally for 8 years. At some point, I might show my face. But been coding professionally for 8 years. I'm currently in between jobs and thought it would be a good idea to document the process. I it's been many years since I've actually gone through the interview process. Um, only I've really only done it like 3 times in my 8 year career. It's largely just because a couple jobs I got through people I knew and people I'd worked for previously, so the interview process was really easy. But also I tend to have like 2 or 3 year stints at companies, so divide that by 8 and you get 3. But I've worked at like 5 different companies now. Um, Earlier on in my career, I was moving around a little bit faster than I have the last 5 years. So, um, yeah, I'm just gonna be working on some interview questions, working on my website, applying to jobs. Probably won't do too much of that on stream, but we'll mostly plan to do like coding related stuff. If anyone has questions about things, like please feel free to ask. I will definitely answer them to the best of my ability. Um, but for now, I'm just gonna dive into some LeetCode questions. Created a new account. I joined one of the recommended groups for like top 150 interview questions. Um, so yeah, I think I'll probably just start kind of going through these. If they're easy, then I'll skip around to some harder ones. If they're hard, don't judge me too much. Most of my coding career has been a mix of back end and front end. I definitely like front end engineering more, uh, and that's probably more of what I'm looking for in future jobs. Um, so I definitely say my like algorithms knowledge and skills are well better than they were when I first started coding. Not great compared to, I wouldn't say the average engineer, but you know, the engineer that like really likes algorithms. I like designing UI and building UI and building products and features, and yeah, there's a element of optimization you have to have there, but I don't typically find that like a merge sorted array or best time to buy and sell stock, like, this kind of stuff you don't come across every day or really at all. Um, so yeah, let's just get started. I've done some of these questions in the past. I guess I don't know what the difference is here. I've done some of these questions in the past, so they may be relatively straightforward. I'm also not going to go for like the most optimized. Okay, thank you for the most optimized. Solutions here. I will want to make them slightly more optimal than just brute force, but I want there to be a little elegance to my solutions. But I'm not going for top 1% or anything. Also, I think perfection is the enemy of good. Is that right? Something along those lines. And when it comes to coding, 90% of the time, the first or second implementation are going to be kind of what gets merged into production. Unless you're working on crazy high performance, crazy high scale, for large companies where a lot of money is on the line, typically you're just going to be trying to crank out code as quickly as you can. And, the further you get into your career, the more experience you get, the easier it becomes the first time to, do things the right way, or at least a better way than a worse way. So, yeah. What's all my stuff looking like here? All right, code with me, software and game development. Okay, that looks fine. All right, merge sorted array. You're given two integer arrays, nums1 and nums2, sorted in non-decreasing order, and two integers m and n, representing the number of elements in nums1 and nums2 respectively. Merge nums1 and nums2 into a single array sorted in non-decreasing order. Sorted in non-decreasing order. Does that mean in increasing order? The final sorted array should not be returned by the function, but instead be stored inside the array nums1. To accommodate this, nums1 has a length of m plus n, where the first m elements denote the elements that should be merged, and the last n elements are set to 0 and should be ignored. Interesting. Okay. Nums2 has a length of 0. So in JavaScript, TypeScript, there is no need to declare the size of an array. For what it's worth, it's a garbage collected language. You don't have to worry about memory, don't have to worry about pointers, allocating memory, freeing things. The language does that all for you. I've pretty much worked in TypeScript my entire career. Or JavaScript. I started in JavaScript, moved over to TypeScript when it made more sense. Stuck with it. I personally really like it. I do get bored from time to time because, if you code in the same thing all the time, doing a lot of the same things, it's just going to get kind of boring. But it's what I'm most fluent in, and so it's what I plan to kind of do all my practice in, and ultimately it doesn't really matter what languages you know, as long as you understand key concepts and core concepts of programming. Um and you know, I've taken jobs where I didn't know the language. I worked for Uber for a year, and they were using Go, and I'd never used Go before, so I spent 2 weeks before I started just doing the Go tutorials and stuff, and then jumped in. And it takes 3 to 6 months to really get ramped up in a software job. um you can start contributing much earlier than that, but it takes that long to learn the code base and kind of navigate and figure out best practices and how the company does things and everything. So usually that's plenty of time for you to learn a new language on the job, basically. So let's jump in. All right. So anyway, my point was TypeScript is you don't have to allocate memory. So the fact that nums1 is getting passed in with n number of elements, so the size of nums2 that are set to 0, is kind of weird for TypeScript, but we can definitely handle that. I mean, if we want to be kind of funny about it to start, let's see, it needs to go back into nums1. So we can just say nums1 dot filter. Let's just say E for element, E, not E. So basically saying remove any element of nums1 that is truthy. So JavaScript has one of the elements of JavaScript is that you can basically have truthiness of a particular value or object. So like an object by itself. So let's just take, I've been using a new keyboard recently, and it's a 42 key layout, so I'm just getting used to like all the keybinds and everything. But basically an object is truthy. So if you did something like a equals an object, and then you did not a, that equals true. Same with an array. So if you want to, you basically need to be more specific in JavaScript. You need to be careful. It does, it can bite you in the butt sometimes if you aren't careful about those kinds of things. All right, yeah. So when they say non-decreasing order, they just mean ascending order. I'm not sure why they use the negative, like a double negative there, basically. So in its simplest form here, we can say we can use a spread essentially. So we're gonna say nums1 equals dot nums1 dot nums2. So we're spreading out the array here. So we've got nums1, which we'll just say is like 1, 2, 3, and then we have 2 or 3, 4, 5 for nums2, and this gets turned into 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5. That's just a handy way of doing that. And then if we want just one line of code, we can do sort. I think the default sort is ascending, though I'll double check. And then the final source should not be returned by the function, but instead be stored inside the array nums1. So I'm not sure if it doesn't look like you're supposed to return anything. That's kind of weird for JavaScript. But if you do pass in an object or an array to JavaScript, it is a reference to that object or array. So if you modify it within the function, it does theoretically get does it gets updated outside the function. So if you did something like const nums1 equals 1 3, and then you did function merge, or if you just called merge with nums1, let's just say nums1 dot length, and then just an empty array, say that's 0. Then theoretically, if you were to, console log, well, actually, this isn't a good example because it'll just be exactly the same, but let's say we did like 4, 5, and then say that's 2. Nums1 would print out to be, even though you haven't reassigned nums1, it would then be 1, 3, 4, 5. Assuming you've built merge correctly. Let's see. There are always cases you can catch at the beginning. I think if and do you need to remove, like if you have, yeah, I don't even think it's worth, I'm looking at I was thinking, if either nums1 or nums2 has array of length 0, oh, actually, this is kind of a weird question, because I guess nums1 is never going to have, wait, nums, it is nums1 ever going to have zeros? I don't see anything that says, oh yeah, okay, the elements here can be negative. Okay, so this solution doesn't work. You can't filter out. So you don't want to filter, you just want to slice, and then do 0 to nums1 dot length, I think should do it. So this will basically take first nums1 dot length elements, and it's not nums1 dot length, it's first m elements. Okay, hold on one sec. Just looking at one thing on my phone quickly. Okay. All right, where were we? Okay, so we want to slice because if the number 0 is in the array and is legitimate, then we don't want to remove it. So we have sliced out the last, sorry, not m elements, n. Take the first n elements. All right, we're making progress. Then you spread that and you sort. This isn't going to be the most efficient way of doing it because you could probably iterate over nums1. Let's see, nums1 and nums2, they aren't sorted coming in, are they? Two integer arrays sorted. Oh no, they are. Okay, they're sorted in ascending order already. So you could actually theoretically okay, there's a fast way of doing this just by, like, you can totally do it in O of n plus n time, which it's saying as the follow up. So this isn't going to be the most efficient solution, but I think it should theoretically work. How am I supposed to see this? No, wrong answer. Oh, okay. So it's n plus 1 then. I couldn't remember. How do I get a plus? There we go. N plus 1. Why was the output 0, 0, 0? Okay, clearly something funky is happening with JavaScript here. Does that reassign it to a new? I guess it might. That might make a new. Oh, this is weird and. This is very weird in JavaScript. I'm realizing actually. Okay, I do see what's happening now. So this is creating a new variable. So it's not going to be reassigning to nums1. I mistakenly assumed that it was. I can't remember if slice is in place or. Oh, it returns a shallow copy. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for splice. Okay, so splice might. Well, splice will. That's gonna. Hold on a sec. So splice is more what I want because it's going to be replacing elements, but I guess okay, this is going to be kind of funky here, but we're basically going to say this isn't the by no means the best way of doing this, but we're going to do the operations that we want to do and create a new array and then just assign that to nums1. this isn't what they really want you to do. What they want you to do is basically, since you have two ascending arrays, to iterate through each of the, like, step through um uh each of the arrays in lockstep, and then like add the next number in the correct spot and shift everything. And but JavaScript's a little funky, um just in that it's like kind of a pain to do that. So I mean, I might take a stab at it after this. um my dog is freaking out there. She probably wants a greenie, actually, I'm realizing. But we'll just do this. Nums. No, okay. Let I equal 0, I is less than total dot length. Oi. I plus plus nums I equals total of I. So I think this should theoretically work. Except there's a 0 at the beginning. Did I have slice right to start? Yes, I did. Okay, that's why. Okay, so I did have that right the first time. Why is that? I see. Okay, so let's say if m equals 0, then we're just going to say sliced is an empty array, because why deal with that? Okay, that works. So this isn't by any means the most efficient from a runtime perspective, or that's weird, because all right, so in this case, m is 1. So you slice thumbs 1, sliced. Should have just 4. Then total is 4. And then nums 2, which is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So it just looks like in this test case it didn't slice. And it just used nums 1. What am I missing here? Does it show me the console logs here? Oh, I guess I can use that test case. Interesting. It does. So Um, oh my god. Okay, that's why. It's supposed to be nums1 dot length minus n. Or sorry, n. No, that was right. That was right. Because you only want to take however many. No, I had this. Oh my god, I had this right the first time. It's m. It doesn't matter. What does slice 0, 0 do? Hold on. Can't remember. So a equals 0, 1, 2, 3. Oops. Slice of 0, 0. Holy cow. Okay, no, that does work. All right, so this was all silly. And I had it right from the beginning, and then I confused myself. Huh. So it seems like for I've never noticed that before, but for negatives, does sort not work? Is it? Oh, wait, hold on. Is it passing in? No, it's passing in integers. That's weird. Okay, so in that case, I'll just specify. Um, okay. Yes, so it's very slow and it's very inefficient. Like I was saying, I had no idea that sort doesn't sort negative numbers properly. Hold on, I want to look that up. Let's actually just go to ChatGPT here. Does JavaScript sort not sort negative numbers properly? All right, so you might be wondering why my typing is slow. I changed like 3 or 4 months ago, changed to using Colmac from QWERTY, which is a keyboard layout. It has more common letters in the middle rows, and then I also am using a 42 key keyboard that I started using like 2 months ago. So I'm still getting back up to speed like I was. Elements as strings by default. Does it really? Oh my god, I have never ever realized that. That's kind of crazy. That's actually kind of crazy. You learn something every day. But yeah, JavaScript sorts as strings. So if you wanted to sort as integers, you have to specify a function. That's kind of insane. All right, let's speed this up. All right, let's actually do what they're asking for. So well, actually, we will do. I think we want. Is there actually is there a way? I can't remember in JS, is there a way? There a way to insert a element into an array between two other. I feel like I should know this, but like this is one of those things that you never have to do. Oh, is that really what it is? Just splice? Oh, I didn't realize you could do that. Okay, that actually makes this super easy. I is less than the so okay, so we want to iterate through okay, hold on. We're actually gonna say while let I equal 0, j equals 0. So while I is less than m plus n, I think. So we're gonna say so let's say element equals nums2 sub j, I guess. So if e less than or equal to nums1 sub I, then we're going to say nums1 dot splice at location I 0 because we want to insert. Actually, hold on. Okay, I mean, all right, that's not exactly how I would do it either. The easiest is just to say okay, similar approach, except we're gonna use total. So we're going to e equals, my dog is freaking out right now. Okay, let I equal 0, let j equal 0, j. So if Okay, so while, let's see, total dot length is less than m plus n. Again, a little funky, but I think this should be both faster and more efficient. Maybe not by a ton, but definitely by a little bit. So if E equals F, then total dot push E total dot push F I plus plus J plus plus. Tessie, I hear ya. I hear ya, girl. What's going on? So otherwise, if E is less than, oops, F, then dot push E I or J plus plus, and then else total dot push F I plus plus, and then and then the end for k equals 0, k is less than total dot length k nums ones of k equals total. Okay, so that's assuming I've gotten these right, which I have undefined. Okay, so if E is undefined, I don't like this. This is so when I push F, it's I plus plus, and then continue if F is undefined, and F not equal undefined. So, I mean, I like my first solution best because it's a lot fewer lines of code. Is it efficient? No, but you also don't. You won't usually ever need to do this. I don't think this is gonna fix it. I think there's still an edge case. Could be wrong. This might work. Does work. So it's okay, significantly faster. Whereas previously I was like bottom 12%. Now I'm top 70%. And in memory, I beat 98.53% of people. But the downside, the trade-off is that instead of writing, what was it? 4 lines of code. I've now written, and I mean, I could probably bring this down a bit, but I've now written, 40 lines of code in its place, 35. There's always a trade-off. I would say 95% of startups, 95% of companies probably, this first solution is totally fine. Also, would highly recommend never doing what is being done in this function. Never modify an array in a function in JavaScript and then access it outside of that. You get into really, it's super easy to just screw things up. So don't do array or object manipulation and expect to use that same value after the return. There is a way in TypeScript to not have it be as much of a problem with arrays. There's not a lot you can do about objects. But for arrays, you can say read only. And then that means you can't or aren't supposed to, theoretically there should be a quote unquote compile error for TypeScript if you try to modify that value. Actually, let's see if that happens in LeetCode. I'm curious. Do we get a compile error? We do. Parameter property is only allowed in a constructor implementation. Oh. Interesting. Can you not? Oh, whoops. That's supposed to be here. Tessie, it's okay, baby girl. So we should maybe get a compile error here. If it doesn't, then it's faking. Only permits reading. Yeah. Okay. So, if you want to prevent what this entire question is asking you to do, which I would highly recommend, then use read only. It is totally up to you if you want to do that, but if you want to be safe, that's the way to prevent it. All right, so back to this. We've done merge sorted array. It was easy. Was it clear? No. Was it useful? I think there's probably a handful of ways you could go about grading this assessment or grading this question as an interviewer. You can be looking for efficiency of lines of code. You can be looking for how they reason about the question. You could be looking for just plain old runtime optimization and memory optimization. I think a lot of them are probably valid, but I would personally not assign too much weight to this question. I think it, at best gives some signal around like if someone's studied for interview questions, but at worst, it makes you think that someone is good at algorithms when again they've just studied for these kinds of questions. But again, people are going to ask it. That's just my personal philosophy. And take it with a grain of salt. But that's yeah, hold on one sec. My dog is freaking out, so I'll be right back. All right, and I'm back. Um, all right, we're gonna do one more question here, and then I think I'll probably call it there. Um, let's see. I don't know. JavaScript, TypeScript, coding, coding stream. Um, software engineering, Node, JS, Elite code, interview preparation. That's fine. Your stream was pre-found on branded content. No. Okay. All right. Nah, we're chilling. Doke, and back to this. So we just did our first question of the 150. Definitely not going to get through all of those because that's insane. But got through the first one. And ended up doing pretty well. There are multiple approaches you can take. It kind of depends on what the interviewer is looking for. If we just go back to that question, I was talking a bit about like what an interviewer could be looking for. I would probably, if I were asking this question, assuming it's a 30, 45 minute interview, and also depending on how many algorithms questions I wanted to get done in that time. Let's say this was the only question that I was going to do in a 45-minute interview. Now, it took me, I don't know, I'm 54 minutes into recording, probably had 5 or 10 minutes of exposition at the beginning. The last 5 or so minutes, I wasn't really here, or I've just been rambling about other stuff. And I spent some time during the middle of the question, like talking about JavaScript, talking about me, talking about coding, talking about interviewing, being an interviewer. But let's say that took 25 minutes, or okay, well actually, and I did it twice. So let's say it took 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes to get this first like 4-line example, or 4-line answer. As an interviewer, if I saw them do that and then they hit run and everything worked, before they hit submit, or and usually you wouldn't do this in an environment where they could see what the runtime is or what the memory usage is. I would ask, can you explain your solution if they weren't like talking about it while they were writing it out? I would ask, what's the runtime of this particular example? Well, in this case, it's going to be whatever the runtime of the sort algorithm is, which I think is log n in JavaScript. That's actually a good question. What is it? What's the runtime of the default sort? Hey, what's up, Solaris? What topics are you working on? So I am a software engineer who's been working professionally for the last like 8 or so years. I've primarily done, like, I started out my career in back end and moved to front end. Right now, I'm in the middle of job hunt and just decided to stream and work on some leak code problems. Just joined like the top interview 150 group, whatever it is, and I'm just kind of working my way through some of these. So I'm basically giving perspective on like interviewing, being an interview, what interviewers are looking for. And where I was at the moment, I had just spent the last like 30, 40 minutes working on this first question merge sorted array. And was just going over like looking at it from an interviewer's perspective. If I were giving someone this question, what would I be looking for, and like how would I go about conducting the interview? But basically, what I was saying was like 5 or 10 minutes. If it took them 5 or 10 minutes to get this first 4-line solution, I would ask them, what's the runtime on it? What's the memory complexity? And then if I were looking for a specific type of like solution or way of doing it, I might ask, okay, this might not be the most like runtime or memory efficient way of doing it. Can you write another solution that's a bit faster? Do you know Pramp? It's a platform where you can get matched with random people and you do a mock interview like in Omegle, but for interviews. I've never heard of that. But that's definitely interesting. Why do you ask? Are you promoting it or just practice mock interviews and coding problems? That looks cool. Probably still a bit on the early side before I'd even consider doing something like this, but I've also given hundreds of interviews, so I feel like I kind of have the gist of what's going on in interviews, and yeah, but oh yeah, I'm just saying that because it kind of corresponded to what you're saying you're trying to do. Yeah, really this is like I've always been interested in like making videos and streaming. I used to have a YouTube channel like 10, 12 years ago doing COD stuff, and that was super fun. But I figured now is kind of a good time to just like document my journey through this and like see if anyone else got value out of what I was working on. But really it's also just like motivation for me to like do the prep, do the work. And it's kind of fun to just, chill here and do some talking. But yeah, that's Pramp looks interesting. I feel like there's some other companies that do like interview what was it? It was several years ago. There was a company doing like some kind of video interview prep. I think probably in a similar fashion. Do I know Codeforces? Exponent? I've never heard of Codeforces now. I'll have to check it out. What is it? Format. Regroups algorithmic problems and hosts algorithmic contests like LeetCode. That's cool. Yeah, it's not ever like, I think generally I've never been that interested in algorithms, but it's fortunately or unfortunately part of the interviewing process. And this is just kind of like one facet of things that I want to do on stream. I have a personal website that I want to build out more of. I probably will do some like games coding and streaming that. Um, and I also play fantasy football, and I've built a integration with Sleeper that allows me to like do that's just like helped with my like auction drafting. So I might work on that a bit as well, and just like answer questions and stuff. But yeah, I've never really been that interested in doing like algorithms competitions. Like I've seen some of the people on YouTube who can, you know, do the like Google ones and are just like crazy good at writing super efficient algorithms, and it's just never been my jam. I like building products more than I do writing algorithms. Um, but uh, but yeah. Um, cool. So let's. I'm just gonna move on to the next question I was gonna work on. Um, remove element. Given an integer array nums and an integer val, remove all occurrences of val and nums in place. The order of the elements may be changed, then return the number of elements in nums which are not equal to val. Return the number of elements in nums which are not equal to val. Okay, consider the number of elements in nums which are not equal to val be k. To get accepted, you need to do the following things. 1. Change the array nums such that the first k elements of nums contains the elements which are not equal to val. The remaining elements of nums are not important, as well as the size of nums. Return k. Custom judge. If all assertions pass, then your solution will be accepted. Example 1. So okay, so it's kind of similar to this previous problem where it's doing that thing in TypeScript and JavaScript that I recommend not doing, which is passing in an array to a function, modifying that array, and then reading that array outside of the function. That usually leads to disaster in code. Generally, I mean, you can if you want, but it's just hard to cover all the cases when you do that. It's hard to remember that you're doing that. And someone else that's coming into your code isn't necessarily going to be aware that that's going to happen. All right, so we're returning the number of instances of not understanding what the underscores are, why those are. Change the array nums such that the first k elements of nums contain the elements which are not equal to val. Okay, so it's just, I see. Okay, let k equals 0. For let I equal 0 is less than nums.length I plus plus. So we're going to, if num sub I equals, let's see, we don't want to change the array while we're in the middle of doing this, because that'll mess with our for loop. but we also need to modify it in place. I guess we could do like an O of 2n solution by iterating once through finding the places where the elements that we want to get rid of are, and then or we could just have an array. Let's just have a second array for now. That's basically we're gonna add to this any element that is not equal to val. So if it does equal val k plus plus, otherwise array.push sub I. That was kind of cool that someone hopped in and checked out the stream. It was fun. I got nervous when I was talking with them. It's kind of funny. I think part of that is just like feeling any kind of judgment over my ability to code, which is kind of funny. I mean, I have like no reason. What are you barking about? What are you barking about? I think you want to go play. You want to go play outside, don't you? Maybe you have to go to the bathroom. Just having any judgment on my coding ability, I think, is stressful for me, but it's something I'll get over. And, you know, just like with getting better at algorithms, and I mean, it's like the algorithms that yeah, you guys want to go play outside. Okay, let me finish this question and then we can go do that. All right, where were we? If nums of I is equal to val k plus plus, otherwise push that non-value to the array, then we're going to go for let I equal 0. I is less than array dot length I plus plus. Then we do nums of I equals array of, or I of array. And then we're going to return k. I think that's what they're asking for. No. Wait, why is my output this? Might need to make this a little bit bigger, actually. I'm realizing it's probably kind of small. Vals 2, so it should, okay, wait, this worked. Vals 3, output expected. What's that? Okay, in this case, the value is 2, so k should be 3. Zero, 1, 3, 0, 4. Why is it expecting 403? Also, why did these not get? Probably because nums.length. Okay, if nums of I, so if array.push, so let I would expect this to, yeah, 0, 1, 304. Why is it expecting 0, 1, 403? And also, why is I might be misunderstanding part of this problem. 013040. Yeah. That's okay. Am I not understanding this? Wait, what is K? Oh, which are not equal. Holy cow. Okay. Reading is hard sometimes. But at least we figured that out. Okay, can you please come here? Goodness. All right, so we don't need that. All right, so if it's not equal to val k, and then you push that, and then now this should work. That works. Let's submit it. I think it should be decent. It shouldn't be terrible. Runtime and runtime's actually bad. All right, let's make this better. Memory's also bad. Oh, but when you look at the scale, like this is the thing. When you're in a production environment, the difference between 50 megabytes and 52 megabytes of memory being used, it's not going to make any difference. Unless you're doing something really weird where like you have just a massive monolithic service that is running way too much stuff. Like if you have a microservice that's running very specific things, generally you're not going to be anywhere, you shouldn't be anywhere near the max memory or CPU usage for that service. Otherwise you'll want to scale horizontally, or possibly scale vertically depending on the reasoning for using that much CPU or memory. But in this case, what's the difference in runtime complexity? Okay, I mean that's a big difference. Even with like the median here, it's 50% slower, so we can definitely make this faster. So basically, rather than creating this other array, we can let there be another. So let's set j equal to 0. Instead of pushing to this array, we're going to say nums j equals nums I. So we only have to do this once. And then actually we can just do j plus plus, because what we basically want to do is just set when it's not equal to val to the next like spot in the array. So I think this, and then we don't need that. Console logs actually might be slowing down the runtime too. I didn't even think about that. Well, wait, actually, hold on. Let me just copy this so I have it. I want to go back. That would be an interesting thing to find out about LeetCode, is if they count console logs as being part of. Oh, whoops. Hold on. All right, let's give this another go. We were like 5% for both. That's okay. That's actually hilarious. I did not realize that, but if you console log in your LeetCode solution, it will add time to both runtime and memory usage. Memory usage, like a decent amount. I mean, granted, I'm curious what my next solution is going to be relative to these. Actually, I'll just like take a screenshot of this so I have it. Let's go into Finder here and just pull it up. Bring it up in a sec. Okay, and I mean, it improved my runtime, pretty close to the median. So this isn't like a terrible solution. Let's try this new solution where I'm not creating a second array. That's going to help with runtime a small amount. I would expect it to have help more with memory, but given I think the question is like num's length is less than 100, less than or equal to 100, it's never going to be there's never going to be that much memory usage anyway. Let's give this a try though. I think this should work. Yes. And yeah, okay. So if we're just comparing here, and I'll run it again just to see if it makes any difference. I don't think LeetCode is like deterministic by any means. Somehow it made memory worse, this solution. I'm not totally sure why, other than some weird JavaScript thing or a LeetCode thing, but I'll go ahead and run it again. So it's 58, 51, 59, 51. Okay, so the trade-off between the two solutions, I mean, weirdly, my first solution, even though you're creating another array, it actually uses less memory. But it's 4 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds slower, depending on the LeetCode run. Which like in the grand scheme of things, I personally wouldn't care about. Okay, now this says 55, so it's an 8 millisecond. LeetCode has some variation. So either way, I think both are perfectly good solutions. I think if I were in an interview and someone did my first solution, here, let me just go back to it. Whoops. Okay, so if someone had done this solution, I'll just put them back to back here. Let's just say solution 1 and solution 2. If someone had done my first solution, would have asked about runtime, which in this particular case is just 2n, so O of n. And it's that because you're iterating through the nums array. Well, it's less than 2n but worst case 2n, because you're iterating through it once and then iterating through it again. Like worst case, the length of array is the same as the length of nums. And then memory wise, I'm not actually sure. There might be some JavaScript reason why it's more efficient to do this, where you create another array. Because if you look at the, let's see, I can't scroll down there. Okay, so let me just swap these real quick, so that you can see them in the right place. Okay, so preview. All right, so solution 2 is this current runtime and memory up here, and then oops, I lost it again. And solution 1 is this bottom one, which is the slightly slower runtime, not by much, but slightly slower, but much better memory performance. And by much better, I mean it's half a megabyte, but it beats 97% of people instead of 60% of people. there might be some weird thing in JavaScript where if you, I was like, why does this look off? Tessie, it's okay, little girl. I'll take you out in just a sec. There might be something weird in JavaScript where assigning to an array while you're in the middle of looping through it, but like JavaScript doesn't know that you're looping through it. You're just there might be some swap. Like I don't actually honestly know how JavaScript handles updating elements of an array like that, but maybe the extra memory usage is just the, no, it can't be J, because like the array you would expect to have more memory. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's interesting, but either way, two different solutions to the same problem. Very similar runtimes, very similar memory usages, and yeah, another easy one marked off. So next time I'll hop on and work on remove duplicates from sorted array. But thanks Solaris for hopping on. That was cool to get some feedback there, just someone to come hang out. Again, I even think this is probably too small. Might even need to be this big. Although I guess I can go over here and see real quick. That's decent size. But yeah, cool. Thanks for hopping on. This was like an hour and 24-minute stream. But it's about as much energy I have for it in one go. Anyway, my voice is starting to hurt. So